I wanted them to see folks that have put it all on the line.
I don't mind if I die in the process.
The constitutional republic origin story is prayer.
We don't love our neighbor by allowing laws to be put in place that hurt our neighbor.
We need these pastors that have that backbone that can get these men straightened out.
I'll never forget this moment where Pastor Rob, he sat the entire staff down because, and this was years ago, he sat us all down, and, there's grumblings and people are, offended about something or whatever it might be, but nobody's actually going to Pastor Rob and talking to him about it. And you lose your witness. If you have a legitimate complaint against somebody or somebody legitimately sins against you, you automatically lose that testimony when you go and you gossip about it to somebody else. Because now we have a bigger problem at hand. There's the problem that you're gossiping about, but then there's the problem of the gossip, which is actually more divisive than the problem, almost, 90% of the time. And so I'll never forget, Rob sat us all down, and he says, nobody will ever, and he got verbal recognition from everybody, and granted, it's funny because I'm thinking this now. I'm like, would I ever have to do this? I hope I never have to do this. Yeah. It was an early time in our staff, but he's mad because he's not mad because he's unjustified in his unjustified anger. He's mad because he sees the division that it's causing, the division of not just going to somebody when you have a problem with them. And he says, if I catch anybody gossiping instead of coming to me and telling me about it, we're gonna have a problem. Like it's not acceptable. If you have a problem with me, my door is open. Yeah. You are from here on out, you are banned from talking about your problem that you have with me with anybody else. Don't gossip. And we're not talking about like HR offensive, like none of that. We're just talking about little things that we get offended by, and then we start gossiping with somebody else instead of going to the person. Yeah. This is a biblical thing, but this would fix. You don't even need to know Jesus, and this would fix 95% of the workplace drama. Is if instead of talking to your coworker about your other coworker, just go to your coworker and talk to them about it. And if you can resolve it there, you've won a brother, instead of causing more and more division within the ranks. And I'm honored by that, because you'll see it played out a lot of times in church where it's just a gossip factory, and they're not actually praying for each other. They're just using prayer time to gossip about one another. And it's like, instead of actually going to the person, they're praying about the person with somebody else, but they're not actually praying about the person. They're just using it as an opportunity to talk about the person, but under the guise that they're talking to God about the person. It's toxic. It's really toxic. If you have a problem, go to the person, and that will fix a lot of our problems. And the more you do it, the more comfortable it is, and the less dramatic it becomes, and then it just becomes a normal part of being a Christian. It's just discipline. It's discipleship.
Yeah, and there's a big difference that you talked to us in the devotional, because there was a proverb that came up about this and about the seriousness of gossip. And, there's a difference between seeking wise counsel and how to deal with a situation that the Holy Spirit is really moving upon your life that's like convicting you, like, man, I need to do something about this. And going to a person that you really respect and is wise and that can lead you and direct you in a godly way on how to handle that situation, than going, during a coffee or a dinner with a ton of people and gossiping about somebody. And I'll share it because I shared it during Devos. One time and I think this is, this gossip thing, I know we're kind of going off, but I think this is important because it does tie in. When you see somebody that is lukewarm, it's easy. You can start gossiping about them. In my life, just not too long ago, I had a time where I caught myself just gossiping. I was in the car, and my wife was in the car, and an amazing friend who loves the Lord was in the back seat. And I found myself I was like, there was nothing much to talk about or something, and I just started like rambling, and then it just started coming out. And I think it's like autopilot sometimes, and you're like, that just shows you the corruption of your sin nature within your body. And I started gossiping about somebody.
It was me.
It wasn't you. But it was, and I'll never forget, and I kind of keep rambling, and everybody's quiet, and then I stopped, and then, I was talking to my friend in the back seat, and he just didn't respond. And he waited like 5 seconds, and that was the longest 5 seconds of my life. And it was like heavy, and I'm like, oh no. And then I realized what I just done. I was like, oh no.
Right.
And then he literally like waited that 5 seconds to make me feel that sin and that conviction.
Like, he didn't even need to
He's
say
like,
anything.
you just need to feel it right now. And I was like, oh no. And then he was like, and then I'm gonna really like press some like dirt into this wound. And then he like just completely switched up the conversation so like blatantly that
he's like,
he didn't have to say
anyways.
anything about it. He just changed the direction of the conversation. I was like, man, and I walked away from that. I was like, that's a good tactic for
Proverbs 27:6, faithful are the wounds of a friend. And to be able to, even just the tact of not even having to say anything, sometimes it is that silence where you go like, oh yeah, this person they're not buying into what I'm doing. But Proverbs 29:11, a fool vents all of his feelings, but a wise man holds them back.
One of my favorites.
And it's so easy to get in that place where you're just like, like I need to tell somebody, like I need to express. It will just make it worse. Like if you care enough that you need to say something about it, go to the person, and that will almost always remedy the situation.
Don't overcomplicate it either. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I have to go sit this person down and have a big lunch with them. And it's like, dude, you can just call them. Like you can just pick up the phone, call them. If they don't answer, send them a voicemail and say, hey man, I just want to talk with you. Give me a call back, and just talk with them over the phone.
For sure.
Like, you know what I mean? Because like chaos, like life is crazy. It's sometimes hard to get together. And then just like you said, time passes, then it festers. Then it's like a fire that spreads. How are you supposed to contain that fire after 6 months of letting that thing burn? And now you're trying to contain it. And it's like, it's impossible.